So, good morning. My name is Cathy Bodaly. My husband Kevin and I, we've been coming here to Open Door for the last few months. As I look out here, there's some people that we've known for a while, some people for a short time. I have a cousin that comes here, Billy Joe. I've known people from the Christian bookstore and people that I've known since my biggest miracle when I gave my life to Jesus at the age of 16. And today, when I give my testimony, I just want to start by explaining a little bit about my condition because I just want you to understand my condition so you know what Jesus accomplished with this miracle. And don't be offended, Billy Joe, that you never knew this because I didn't tell a lot of people about this at all. This is something that I kept very close to myself, and you'll hear why a little bit into this. But so my whole life, I have lived with clinical depression. And clinical depression is not a spiritual depression. It's not a situational depression. It is something that happens because the brain is not working properly. And it is a very, very sad and dark place to live. Unfortunately, there are some people that don't believe in this kind of depression because a lot of people believe that there's only an attack of the enemy. They don't believe that the brain can be broken down, but it's the same as any part of your body. Your brain can be broken. And it caused some hurts in my life, so I didn't bother telling a lot of people because even close friends would not believe that I had this sort of depression. But I thank God for a husband that took the time to understand my depression, and he stood by me this whole time through this depression that I was going through. And as I lived with this, my serotonin levels in my brain were getting more depleted. And at 33 years old, I had what they call my first panic attack. Now, a panic attack is not like an anxiety attack. An anxiety attack is from worry and stress and things happening in your life. But a panic attack happens because the serotonin levels get so low in your brain. So you can have one just from a normal thing happening in your life, as I did the first time. I was just sitting in a lawn chair watching my girls swim when I had my first one. And the reason they call them panic attacks is because when you have one, they are so horrific and horrible because you feel like you are suffocating and that you're not breathing. And as they became more frequent, I had to go on medication for that so that it doesn't replace your serotonin, it only uptakes it for the day. When you take that pill, it uptakes it for that day only, so that you hopefully don't have a panic attack. Anyways, my depression gradually got worse over the last year and a half. And I had a major struggle where every day I would have suicidal thoughts. It was constant in my thoughts. I'm ashamed to say that I actually understand why people kill themselves, because you don't understand unless you're going through it how horrible it is to live like that with this type of depression, well, any type of depression. So my three words became my constant prayer to Jesus. I just every day, help me, Jesus, help me, Jesus. I don't know where I would be without him. And my beautiful Betty Mitchell over there, she pinned me down and made me tell her my testimony before I gave it today. But she said to me when I told her, she said I was a good actor, which is not true. I wasn't a good actor. I wasn't purposely trying to hide it, but I believe that God gave me such a love for people and a joy for Jesus and people that I could walk through the day and still people could see that in me, even though I had this depression over me. So on May 19th, at this church, I was sitting in my seat, and I struggle with going up for prayer sometimes because people didn't understand it, but I decided I was going to go up, and two wonderful ladies prayed over me. I was very vulnerable with them, and they did not start to say it's a spiritual attack. They just prayed for Jesus to heal me of this depression. And we started to pray, and we prayed in tongues, and then one of the ladies put her hand on the top of my head and was praying, and I immediately, thank you, Jesus, I immediately felt this amazing, wonderful touch, just a little blip on the left side of my brain, right at the front. And I'd never felt anything like that before when people have prayed for me, so I knew Jesus had done something. And when I went back to my seat, I felt such an incredible peace. Well, by the end of the service, I knew that my suicidal thoughts were gone and that Jesus had healed me of my depression. Thank you, Jesus. And so I didn't tell my husband right away, because I've lived with this for 61 years. And to be honest with you, I was scared that the other shoe was going to drop. So one thing I did realize right away, that my panic attacks weren't gone, but my depression was totally healed. And when I finally shared with Kevin, he was very cautious too, because after all, he'd lived with me with this for 42 years. And he was just very cautious. But the Lord, when I told him, the Lord told me to do something I had never done before. He told me to go and get our computer and look up what side of the brain depression is on. And I didn't have any reason to do that ever before, because why? It didn't matter to me where my depression was coming from. I knew it was in my brain, but it didn't matter where in my brain it was coming from. But we were so amazed. You can imagine our amazement and our awe, and I can never describe the moment when we read where depression comes from in the brain. It not only was it the left side, but the left frontal side, where Jesus had touched me with his finger. And so I have thanked him so many times. I thank him that he had set me free from this horrible thing. And I can never praise him or thank him enough for it. But you know, Jesus was with me through all of that pain, and he knew what it was like, because when he faced it in the Garden of Gethsemane, he told Peter, James, and John, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." His anguish was so great that his sweat was like drops of blood. So Jesus knew what it was like to suffer like I was suffering. And I just want to, again, give him all the praise and the glory. And I want his name to be lifted up today, because only Jesus is worthy of this. He is worthy of it all. And I just want to say thank you to him.